This is episode 63 of a series where we examine the cut content, design, and development of Fallout New Vegas. A while back I talked about the early leaked build of New Vegas that was shown at the Tokyo Game Show convention in 2010. This build was from only a few weeks before the game went gold, and as a result, the differences between it and the original release are minimal. In fact, the majority, if not all of these differences are present in the unpatched Xbox version, but this is still a significant discovery because there's content on the 360 that's missing from other ports. We had noticed some of these differences in pre-release footage, and I've even talked about a few of them in previous videos. A modder called Synkro made a Delta patch that showcases the differences, but the TGS version was in Japanese and had translation errors that made it nearly impossible to analyze. Thankfully, another modder, PushTheWinButton, made an update that fixes those issues, and that's available as an optional file below if you want to check it out. Ranger Station Charlie and the surrounding area went through the most significant performance pass. At the back left of the camp, there's 2 empty Nuka-Cola bottles and a dumpster, but there's way more of these in the TGS build. In the trailer beside the dumpster, there's also 2 rugs, both of which are missing in the PC version. In the trailer right beside this one, there's yet another rug that's also missing from other ports. On PC, there are planks that have a uniform color that lead up to a lookout on top of some stacked trailers. They originally had an alternating color scheme that made the area look much better though. The same thing happened to the planks on the other side of the camp too. While the layout is exactly the same, it definitely looks drab in comparison. At the top of the stacked trailers on the left side of the camp, there's a chair that has blood beside it, but this blood stain was cut out too. In the trailer across from the camp's interior building, there's another rug and 3 bloodstains not far from it, all of which are absent on PC. A few cut bloodstains aren't a big deal, but they do help communicate the dire straits the NCR is in. Behind the stacked trailers on the right side of the base, there is also some street litter that isn't present on PC. On the road outside Ranger Station Charlie, there's a whiskey bottle and an empty scotch bottle lying on the ground, both of which are missing from the PC port. Further down the road, there's a skeleton that has a motorcycle helmet not far from an overturned motorcycle. The motorcycle is still there, but both the skeleton and helmet are missing from the PC release sadly. Most of the cut clutter doesn't add that much, but this was a cool instance of environmental storytelling, and it's too bad it's not in all versions. There's a handful of cut creatures that use the Tier 2 hill leveled list. For example, there's 2 just outside Ranger Station Charlie, and interestingly, these are remnants of Jorge Salgado's cut random spawning system. This system was abandoned, so these creatures don't work properly, but in theory, they should spawn creatures randomly from a list containing bark scorpions, geckos, bighorners, etc. There's also several cut creature spawns using the Valley leveled list, 3 of which are near the location Legion raid camp. These could spawn vicious dogs, rad scorpions, mole rats, coyotes, etc. In the Brotherhood of Steel bunker at Hidden Valley, the firing range is different as we've talked about before. The 360's firing range is actually simplified in comparison and has fewer lights. There are some extra knives, forks, and cups that were cut out of the dining hall. There is also a tall stack of plates that explodes all over the place if you move it, but unfortunately most of these are missing from the PC port. There's also way more light sources, like this light right outside Elder McNamara's office. Now it's gone though. Magical. There were 2 extra lights in the VR pod room, but both are missing on PC too. There's so many light changes that I'm not going to cover all of them, but suffice to say the area designer had a notable amount of their hard work deleted. There's cut AI packages that makes 11 of the generic Brotherhood NPCs sleep periodically in the bunker as well. While some lost plates, lights, and AI packages aren't the end of the world, it definitely dampened the location's ambience. There's a cell called Repcon Checkpoint on the road to Repcon test site, and many props were cut from it. I mentioned the mysterious smoking gnome in an earlier video, and he's present in this version as expected. Near the gnome, the ground is covered by 3 instances of litter that's missing in other ports. The nearby table also has a harmonica beneath an empty bottle, and both are absent from other versions. Behind the table, there's also a pressure cooker on a shelf that isn't on PC. Truly devastating. On top of the nearby underpass, there's a wrench, some caps, and a few energy cells that were cut from this shelf. Not far from here, there was once a rug and street litter right beside it, but both got the axe. Below, there's a dead bright follower, and there's 2 bloodstains beside him, but both bloodstains got cut too. Looking at his placement in the GEC, it seems the bright follower's corpse was meant to be slung over the side of this window, but in practice he often ends up clipping into the wall or through the ground and can't be seen. So maybe it's for the best the bloodstains were removed. There's a nearby table next to some sandbags that has mentats and cat eye, but again these are missing on other ports. There was a large tire pile between 2 of the tents at Camp Golf, but this would later get scrapped. A few tents down on the same side there was a military table. Do you like it? Well, get fucked, cause it's gone now too. Behind one of the nearby tents, there were 3 barrels, and for some strange reason, 2 of these were rearranged. The same thing happened to a table and some chairs across from the cut tire pile. I'm really not sure why they went back and moved all of this around. There's a cut AI package that would have made an NCR soldier wander around the outskirts of the camp. Finally, inside the camp's mess hall, there's also 2 additional cut soldiers who were meant to wander around the tent's interior. In the final game, there's a crucified slave and a dead slave outside the entrance to Cottonwood Cove. But in the TGS version, there's 2 additional dead NPCs and another crucified character. Notably, there are 2 empty crucifixes in the early build, and there are also 2 unused NPCs who use the same naming prefix. It's pretty clear the designer's intention was for the player to see the Legion in all their cruelty as they approach the area, and if they had it their way, I imagine there would be even more crucified victims. On the cliffs adjacent to Cottonwood Cove, there's a group of fire geckos, but there's 12 more in the TGS version, suggesting this area was intended to be much more difficult. The Eldorado Dry Lake cell has 7 additional ants that would have made the area much more challenging, especially for low-level players. On the nearby road, there's a dead vicious dog by a caravan that was attacked by these ants, but again it's missing from the other ports. North of here, there's a dog that spawns by a trailer, but this guy is permanently disabled on PC. Outside Helios 1, there's a radioactive pit not far from a bucket loader, and there's 2 additional bloatfly spawns that are missing from the PC version. It isn't much, but it would have made this encounter slightly more memorable. In Boulder City, there were originally 3 ravens near the train tracks, but only 1 remains on PC. Near the Bighorner Saloon, there's also an additional raven that was cut from other ports. There's a 4th raven placed near one of the electrical pylons, but it was cut too. There's also a couple extra scorpions on the edge of the settlement, and this additional wildlife would have made it a bit more immersive. In a cell on the western edge of Nellis Air Force Base, there's 5 Jersey barricades, but all of them are missing from the PC release. The location Cazador Nest has 2 additional small Cazadors, and there's 3 additional small Cazadors placed just outside the cave cell. Considering its name Cazador Nest, there should have been a high concentration of newborn Cazadors, and this would have made the location more difficult. There's an overturned trailer outside the Highway 95 Vipers encampment. This is strangely a different colored trailer on PC, and I'm not sure why this was altered either. At Goodsprings, there's a raven placed way underground in the TGS build, and I'm guessing this was done by mistake. Finally, there's a cut AI package to make one of the Goodsprings settlers sleep. These differences are genuinely strange because they couldn't have caused many performance issues on console, let alone on PC. Further, the areas that were altered seem to have been chosen at random, as locations like Freeside and Hoover Dam had more pressing problems that had to be addressed in post-launch patches. Regardless, this discovery finally brings the mystery of the differences between the PC and 360 versions to a close, so all of this can be re-implemented as it should have been. In the end, it doesn't really reveal anything groundbreaking though, as we already knew the developers wanted more of everything everywhere. Now all we can do is hope that an earlier build one day leaks, one that allows us to fully restore Obsidian's grand vision. As minor as these changes were, they would have made New Vegas into an even better game. Ultimately though, all of this was left on the cutting room floor.